without Conor McGregor, the sport certainly wouldn't be where it is now. I think he's just one of those personalities that kind of just revolutionizes a sport and just changes it forever. Like, mixed martial arts will not be the same as it was before Conor McGregor entered the UFC because of Conor McGregor.
Yeah. Hal, thanks for coming in, mate.
No worries. Cheers for having me.
That's all right, mate. Appreciate you coming down. Talked about it for a little bit and making it happen.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's nice to get down here. Got a cool little setup here. I love it.
Yeah, cheers, mate. Appreciate that. So I'll take you back to when I first sort of spotted you. I went and watched when Jack defended his title in Cage Warriors.
Yeah.
I was down there that night and obviously seen you doing your job. And I actually thought at the time, fuck, that's a cool job. Like, how does someone like that get into that? And this was way before I even had a podcast. So it's quite cool actually sitting down with you now and getting to know a bit more about you.
Yeah, it's a weird old job, isn't it? I sat there watching a, I think it was like a pain pit fight night. And I was like, how do you get into doing that? Because initially I used to go down with Richard Shaw and kind of I was training with him at the time at Larry Combat. There was a group of us. We were about maybe from the age of like 13 onwards. We used to go down. We'd help set the events up, putting the mats out in the warm up rooms and stuff like that. And I'll say that I helped set the cage up, but he'd definitely tell you I was more of a hindrance because I was useless. I wouldn't know what anything went about the squares the wrong way. It's terrible. But yeah, we used to go and help out, and we used to watch the show then because we knew lots of the boys were fighting. And we were all fans of the sport. And then I was like, oh yeah. And I used to say to the boys, I could do that. I could have a go at that. I think I could do it. And they say, oh no, you couldn't. Shut up. And Ricky Wright did lots of shows at the time, and I think I said to him a couple of times, I fancy a go at that. And he goes, all right, yeah. And I said, I think I could do it. And fast forward a couple of years then, I was in university, had a phone call off him saying, do you fancy a go? I've got you a gig. I can remember exactly. It's with a guy called Matthew Einan, ran a show called ESE Fight Night, and it was in more of a social club in Llanelli. And I can remember, I was in Tesco's at the time. I was like, yeah, all right, I'll give it a go. I had nothing to lose. I'm a student. It was a bit of money on the side, a bit of beer money.
Yeah.
And I turned up to the show, and it was brilliant. It was a proper like spit and sword show. It was a really good show, but like the cage was on the floor. There's probably about 200 people in attendance. The walkway was just like through the middle of the seats.
Good. That's probably what you needed, was it, for your first one?
Oh, definitely, yeah. Well, I can remember I got in the cage and I remember my left leg just felt like it was shaking uncontrollably, and I was like, oh, this is weird. What was my leg doing that like? So I shifted all my weight onto my left leg, thinking that'll stop it. And then the right leg started going. But
it's proper level of discomfort, was it? Yeah.
Massive, yeah. I thought, I don't know what I'm going to do by here. Hope I don't choke up or anything. But yeah, I did that show, and it snowballed from there.
Mate, it's a wild thing to do because, I don't know about for you, but for me, when I was in school, primary school, high school and whatever, when they say get up and read.
Yeah.
That is the dreaded moment for me.
Yeah.
Was that similar? Did you ever find that?
I've always been confident in speaking. I'd say, if you ask me what my strength is as a human being, speaking is probably one of my biggest strengths. I feel like I can talk to most people. I can talk at length. I can read to a decent level then in front of people. That doesn't really faze me too much. Obviously, when I was plonked in front of 200 people, I was a bit taken aback. But generally, as a rule of thumb, I've always been okay at that. But then I was terrible at maths. It was always a trade-off.
Yeah, you can't have it all, mate. Come on,
well, no one likes the people who can have it all anyway, do they? Let's be honest.
No, that's
There's always that one kid in school who used to look at you and say, for God's sake.
Mate, everyone's got something they're not good at. They're just not admitting it. I had this bloke in here the other day, Richard Taylor. He was running to be an MP in Blaenau Gwent.
Yeah.
And he was saying, you all know these bad things about me, but trust me, you think you know it all. You don't know the worst things. Everyone's got things which they're hiding from people.
Yeah, of course.
Which they don't want to admit because, it's embarrassing or you've done something you shouldn't have done or whatever.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. Well, that first show, I introduced myself to the referee, and he shook my hand. And he said, my name's Chris Jones. And Ricky'd mentioned him to me. He said he was going to be there. Anyway, he literally shook my hand, said my name's Chris Jones. I turned round, said to the audience, started my spiel. I said, ladies and gentlemen, your referee for the evening, Chris Davis. He literally looked back at me, pointed at his shirt, and he was like, Chris Jones.
On the first one?
On the first one, yeah. So
did he collar you for it later? Or?
Oh, I did. Literally, he's a lovely bloke, Chris. Really, really nice bloke. He just pulled me aside. He was like, it's Chris Jones. I was like, sorry.
Get it right, come on, this is my time to shine, son. Mate, it's proper mad. So you went from these smaller shows then. So how did you get fill the gap between that and Cage Warriors?
So basically, I did these smaller shows. I was lucky I managed to do an Adrenaline Fight Night show, which was a great show run by James Wallace. And then I got my details passed on to a guy called Robbie Owen, who was running a white collar boxing show at the time. The show was based in Cardiff initially, and I got a lot of work in with Robbie doing this white collar boxing stuff. He's still an active promoter now, and he's actually one of the really good guys in the white collar industry, because I think that industry is filled with a lot of sometimes less desirable promoters.
Not very professional.
Sometimes I've heard of kind of story, and again, it's all stories, but you've heard of kind of fighter safety being compromised when really all they're trying to do is raise money for charity and have their 5 minutes of glory or whatever in a boxing ring. But yeah, Robbie's one of the good guys. And I started on his shows, and that was great because that really gave me a platform to kind of find myself, hone a lot of my skills. His white collar boxing kind of evolved into semi-professional boxing. And as his shows kind of took that little step up, it allowed me to kind of take a little step up too in terms of my announcing ability and the way I was announcing. And I was able to play about with a lot of things because he gave me a lot of free reign in many areas. And that was fantastic. And then Richard Shaw needed somebody to fill in for one of his shows. And I was training in the gym at Blind at the time. And I just kind of nagged the backside off him and said, come on, Shake. You need an MC. I want to be your MC. Let's make this work. Can I fill in on this one show? It was a Cage Warriors Academy show, so it wasn't televised or anything like that. It was in the Newport Centre. Jack Shaw was fighting Alexandros Gurmilatos, I think. And I said, come on, I'd love to do it. Is there a chance? Please, can I do it? In fact, I think Jack was the one who tapped me up and said, my dad's looking for an MC. Go, tell him you'll do it. Go and tell him you'll do it. And that was it. I had to send him a video of me announcing, as I would announce a fight. And on the back of that, he said, yeah, okay, we'll give you a shot. And I was lucky then. After that one show, he asked me if I'd like to do the rest of their shows. So I was doing the Cage Warriors Academy Wales shows, which meant I was doing the undercards of the televised Cage Warriors events whenever Cage Warriors came to Wales. Yeah. So I suppose that kind of put me in a position to maybe be seen by some of the Cage Warriors brass. I think I did those for about 2 or 3 years, and then I had a phone call asking me if I could just fill in for one show at Cage Warriors 99 up in Colchester. So obviously I said yes. You don't say no to an opportunity like that.
Definitely not.
I said yes. I went up, I filled in for the one show. I was absolutely on cloud 9 for the week afterwards. I was just chuffed. I thought it was amazing. And that was in the November. And then in the February of the following year, I was asked if I'd like to join the team and be the MC full time. And that brings me up to where we are now.
Amazing, mate. Mate, it's great as well, just building your way up. And that's what you've got to do. It's the same as doing this. I've said to many people, the first 50 are probably going to be a bit of an apprenticeship. You're going to learn what you're doing, what you're asking. Is there a plan in it? Because I imagine doing that, just even going over it and not saying the wrong name like you did with Chris or whatever. And that's a talent in itself, because sometimes things just fall out of your mouth, don't they?
Yeah.
It's what the fuck just happened?
Yeah. And sometimes not overthinking yourself. I mean, I'm still guilty of that now, overthinking myself and overthinking what I'm going to say and kind of almost over-processing it in my mind. But yeah, having that ability to just just kind of free flow and work things out and do things. That was really, really beneficial, you know, especially to know that it's only going out to the people in the room. That was fantastic. And it was invaluable to me, to be honest, just to be able to kind of find myself, find who I felt I was as an MC.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm by no means finished. I find little things I try and tweak about myself every show, because I think the minute that you're kind of happy with the way that you are is the minute that you're going to start to kind of come apart. Because
you're kind of either on the up or on the down, in you. Like, I think
you can never achieve perfection, can you? Really, you know, really and honestly, no one can ever say they can achieve perfection. I mean, Usain Bolt, when he broke his world record, and you know, it was his own personal best. When he made his own personal best, there's no way he was totally satisfied with that forevermore. There's no way he didn't sit down and think, oh, could I break that?
Yeah.
Or could I break my own record again? You know, no one's ever completely. Everyone's always striving for that little bit more.
That's it. Yeah, you get to like you look at this levels, don't you? And you're like, oh, once I get there, I'll be happy. And then when you get there, you're like, oh, what's up there? It's like you can see the next ridge. It's like when you're going up a mountain, you think that's the top, and then there's another bit.
Yeah.
It's like it's never ending, isn't it? Literally. And so, like you say, are you working for Cage Warriors full time then, or is it just for the MCing?
No. I just do the MCing for their shows. Outside of that, I actually work in a special needs school.
Oh, right, okay.
With kids with special needs. Yeah, so it's cool. Yeah, it's interesting.
Bit of a contrast, like
big contrast. Yeah, hey, it brings you back down to earth.
Yeah, definitely, mate.
Definitely.
So, like, do you think? I obviously have no clue how much like it pays or anything like that, MCing or whatever. Is there ever like a future full time gig from it? Do you think? Obviously, this year's been a kick in the teeth, really, because.
Yeah, I mean, this year I've actually been fortunate because Cage Warriors obviously got all the government approval, and they've been able to get their shows kind of working across the board. So we've been really lucky with that because we've been able to continue doing shows, even though there's been no fans there. We've been able to continue, obviously, A, doing what we love, and B, earning money while doing it. But yeah, I mean, you do see full-time MCs, you know, so it's obviously an achievable goal because you find people doing it as a career.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely possible. There's definitely ways to do it. It's definitely achievable. It's just a case of facilitating it.
Yeah, and like making the connections, I would imagine, is probably obviously being good at what you do, number one, and then number two is actually getting in front of people, isn't it? And
networking. Yeah, I mean, I've been with Cage Warriors now, you know, on the televised broadcast side of it for 2 years. So I mean, that's still comparatively early, relatively new. 2 years. It's not a particularly long time. So yeah, I think there's definitely more to come.
Yeah, that's it. And every show you go to, you're going to get seen by someone else. Every sort of, like, I noticed you've done quite a couple of podcasts lately and things. Every one of them, you don't know who's listening.
Yeah, it's exactly. And I found kind of interest in me being on, you know, not that I think I'm a particularly interesting person. No, at least not for a podcast anyway. But yeah, I mean, I found interest in me has kind of increased in terms of being asked to appear on a podcast and things like that. Maybe in the last 6 months. So, and I honestly think that's like just a case of my face being in front of people for that kind of more prolonged period of time. You know, you wouldn't see someone as a one-off, especially not in the role that I'm doing, and think, oh, I'd like to speak to him. I would imagine it takes a couple of attempts where you see someone repeatedly and you think, actually, this person might have something interesting to say. I'd like to speak to him.
Yeah, it's like marketing, isn't it? They reckon when they're selling a product, you've got to see it like 7 times before you buy it.
Yeah.
So like you say, they're seeing you this many times on the telly. They're like, oh yeah, this guy's like a regular in this spot. I want to get to know him, innit? Or whatever. Yeah. That's exactly what it was for me. I seen you in the show and I see you carry on doing your thing. And it wasn't until I actually had like the sort of place and platform to do it that I thought, all right, now I got the opportunity, innit? So yeah, it's yeah, I always think like it's a crazy job going up there and doing that. And you said like you like to be chilled. What like takes you to that chilled place? Is it, have you got like techniques, or have you like just cultivated it over time?
It's something I've got used to over time. I always like to tell myself that I'm only ever doing what I do for the people in the room. My job is just to take the information about the fighters and give it to the people in the room watching the event. I always think to myself, the television broadcast will give everyone everything else. Now, I know deep down that obviously I'm actually part of that broadcast. You know, I'm not sat there thinking, I know deep down that I am a part of it. But what helps me to kind of relax is I kind of take my mind off the whole cameras and lights and all that stuff. And I just think to myself, I'm simply there just to facilitate information for the people in the room. And that's it.
Just go tunnel vision on it.
And if I do that correctly, everything else will fall into place in terms of what I am meant to do. And that's just how I get into that space.
Just don't think about it too much, then. More or less, don't get overwhelmed by the situation going on around you.
No, don't put it on a pedestal. Don't do anything like that. Just do what you're meant to do for the people in the room. When I started it, I was only doing it for the people in the room. Why should it be any different now? You know, as long as I do my job for the people in the room, the people at home are going to get exactly the same benefit.
Yeah. What's it like when there was barely any people in the room?
Yeah, that's...
like for all that, I don't know how many people would be there, like what,
in a way,
30 or 40 people?
I mean, sometimes you, especially at the start of a small show, you're talking kind of a low number of people. And then you sat there, you're thinking, oh, I wish there was more people here. I wish that, you know, it's like these trilogy shows now, they're fascinating. But sometimes I think to myself, I wish there were people here just to kind of give a bit of a pop to something. Whether that's something I'm saying or kind of, I always say that I think it was criminal to announce Paddy Pimblett in Manchester 30 minutes down the road from Liverpool and not have thousands of screaming Scousers taking the roof off. I think that was absolutely criminal.
Mate, that was a wild fight as well, like, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, you know, when Paddy travels to, I'm sure that wherever Paddy fights, he'll take his contingent of fans with him, just like Jack does, just like, you know, on a larger scale, Conor McGregor has. So the idea of having somebody like that and not having anyone there to support him, like I said, it's almost criminal. You know, you hear that walkout music is synonymous with kind of a massive atmosphere, and there's like nobody there. You still get an atmosphere, but it's a totally different kind of atmosphere.
Yeah, I think Paddy like could be a huge star. Now he's in the UFC. Like he's a huge star considering he's on Cage Warriors, and that's no disrespect to Cage Warriors, but you don't see people with like his profile really do at that level. It's usually like he's probably got a bigger profile than a lot of UFC fighters.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's definitely down to the way that he markets himself. I mean, you are seeing people come through Cage Warriors bringing that kind of profile. I'd argue that Jack Shaw built himself a similar kind of profile in terms of the following that he amassed. And I would argue that with these closed door events, we're probably not seeing the fighters who are starting to amass a following because we can't have any fans there.
You're only seeing what's online, really.
Exactly,
aren't you?
yeah. So, I mean, you've got fighters who are kind of rising up through the ranks. You know, I mean, you've got Oban Elliott, Ian Gary. You've got plenty of people who are coming through the ranks, and you can't, you know, we're not getting a true reflection of how their following is growing or building.
Yeah.
Because you're not seeing these people in the room to support them.
That's true. I tell you one person I love watching fight is that Jack Cartwright.
Jack Cartwright, yeah.
Every time you watch him fight, you're just waiting for the bang. Like, aren't you?
Small man with cinder blocks for hands, isn't he?
I know, it's insane, isn't it? You don't usually see someone at his weight like knocking people out the way he does. I had to message him after his one fight. I was like, fucking hell.
Yeah.
I just couldn't believe it. I can't remember who he was fighting, to be honest.
He's a nice guy, Jack, as well. Nice guy. But,
yeah.
I wouldn't want to pick on him.
No. He's a bantamweight, isn't he?
Yeah, under 35 pounds.
Yeah. He's obviously champion at the minute. Like, he's bound to get a call out of, well, if he, you know, carries on the way he's going, isn't he?
You'd imagine so. I mean, we all know what the Cage Warriors belt is a ticket for, don't we? So, yeah, in that regard, if he keeps winning, keeps putting on performances, then you should imagine that a phone call will turn up sooner or later.
Yeah. I find it weird. Like, obviously, Cage Warriors like must have good connections with the UFC, and haven't they? And Graham and everything. But it's like a weird thing, innit? You build them up to be this champion, and then you know they're gone within a fight or two, almost, and it tends to be the way.
Yeah, but with that kind of, I always think of it as a revolving door. Like with that one person leaving, you know, you got another person entering who's going to become that next star. And the UK is only getting bigger and better when it comes to talent. Like our talent pool is only getting deeper.
Yeah.
There's going to be kids who are 12, 13, 14 years of age right now who are that next generation who I'm super excited to see what they can do when they reach adulthood and they step in the cage, because they've been doing this from day dot, and there's absolute savages out there, you know, people who've got all this kind of information at their fingertips in terms of coaches. They've got access to fantastic gyms. They've got access to like strength and conditioning coaches. They've got multiple coaches for multiple disciplines.
Yeah.
They've got coaches who can bring it all together. They're training in world-class facilities. Like these kids who definitely don't know how good they've got it. They're like, you know, I think the future of the sport in the UK is only going to, I think it's just going to explode at some point with absolute savage youngsters that are just going to be able to take on the world. And I'm really excited for it.
Yeah, me too, mate. I think as well there's a massive like supply and demand now, because since really, I don't know, I've only been into MMA since like the Conor McGregor sort of got in. And I think at that point, loads of people got into it.
Yeah.
I feel like he created, he didn't just steal a load of fans, he created people who were never into the sport, get into it. And
definitely. There was a massive influx of like interest around the sport, I think, when Conor McGregor got into the UFC with that bold, brash personality. He was an English speaker, which obviously appealed to a lot of the UFC's target audience. And yeah, like you said, loads of people got into the UFC off the back of it. I enjoyed mixed martial arts just before Conor McGregor got into the UFC. Like I used to like watching Chael Sonnen and Lyoto Machida back in the day. Like that was, you know, that was it for me.
He was quality, like the way he talked to people and just his comebacks. I still watch like his podcast now, The Bad Guy Inc.
Yeah.
Like that's one of my go-to watches.
Yeah.
Like, and although sometimes like you know what he's saying, maybe isn't even like right, but I just love what he's saying. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I honestly, you know, kind of that was when I was growing up in the sport. Those were two people who I kind of really looked at and kind of enjoyed watching. Was Chael Sonnen and Lyoto Machida. And I always make the joke that I turn the Sonnen and Silva fight off for the end, so I don't see him lose. But yeah, and then obviously, like Conor McGregor, he's kind of like a level up from Chael Sonnen, and yeah, he did. He battered on the doors for so many fans, and obviously with Conor McGregor came increased television coverage. It became much more accessible. Obviously, you kind of had a bit of a social media boom around the same time where it was much easier to share video content, and you know the UFC were doing press conferences, so you had kind of sound bites and video clips from there that people could watch, and I think it all came together at a nice time to just create that kind of explosion in terms of fans of the sport.
Yeah, like I just literally, like you said, like all the little videos they put together of him, you know, all the compilations and stuff, and you just see him like riding down the bike on that big wheel, down the road on that big wheel bike with the Snoop Dogg song on, like like that's probably like I can remember my brother showed me that. He's like, "Fuck, you got to see this guy," and that was probably it. Then I was like, "Fuck, I got to watch him fight."
Yeah,
and I bet like his fights are watched over and over and over again, even now, like because I went through a time where like you just always watch his knockouts back, like his he was definitely like a catalyst to a lot of people getting into it, I think.
100%, definitely. And I think, you know, whatever you think about him, you know, whether you think he's one of the best fighters to ever grace the sport, you know, of his time, or whether you think he's not, you can't argue with what he's done for the sport. You know, whether you think his skill set is there, and whether you think he's a fully rounded fighter, or whether you think that someone else is better, you can't argue with what Conor McGregor had done to the sport. Without Conor McGregor, the sport certainly wouldn't be where it is now. I think he's just one of those personalities that kind of just revolutionizes a sport and just changes it forever. Like, mixed martial arts will not be the same as it was before Conor McGregor entered the UFC because of Conor McGregor.
I agree. But isn't it strange, though? Like, obviously, that's the case. He doesn't even have to do that anymore. No. You know, like his last fight. Like, if he hadn't got the profile he got going into that fight, like, there was no pop in any of his interviews like there was before.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, he's kind of raised his profile. Like, he doesn't have to do it. Although I think maybe coming to this next one, it could be a different story. I don't know.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, trilogy with Poirier. So it's one apiece. Will we see the old Conor McGregor back, kind of talking a bit of trash, talking a bit of smack, trying to get under his skin?
I want to see it. Like,
I want to see it.
Can't help it. I want to see it. Like,
everyone wants to see it. Everyone wants to see
give
it.
him some shit, innit?
Yeah.
Like, I like Dustin. Obviously, he's great. He's a great guy, isn't he? Like, he's as nice as they come. But
I mean, look, he knows the game, McGregor, doesn't he? As well, he knows the game. I mean, you know, you see people say, you know, he's changed because he's a father and all this, and you know, he knew exactly what he was doing from the dot. He wasn't just some brash Irishman who did things at the flick of a switch. If he wanted to make it look like he was, that's a different story. But I think that he was definitely calculated and kind of knew what he was doing, quite savvy, very switched on. So I'm sure he knows, you know, he'll know the way he wants to approach the build up to this fight, and he'll give us whatever he wants to show us. I'm sure.
Yeah, I think he had, like, obviously a lot of controversy around his, like, personal life and things he's done. And I feel like he kind of wanted to wipe the slate clean with his last fight. It was kind of, I want to show you I am a good person, possibly. And now, like, you know, now he can get back to probably having a bit of banter and stuff.
Yeah, you don't want to eat the same thing every day, do you? You get bored of it. So if you see the same thing constantly, you'll get a bit bored of it. So maybe you want to switch it up and kind of give us something a bit different.
But the Khabib, like, for me, was, like, too far. You know, like the Khabib press conference. It was like, kind of, I don't know how to describe it. It just didn't sit right, like, somehow.
I think the whole thing surrounding that fight was a bit too far, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But
it made for a lot of money, though, didn't it?
So definitely.
What can you say, really?
Definitely. That's probably the most surprising fight that kind of never happened in terms of kind of the UFC making it happen. And I mean, there were obviously outside factors influencing it. But the fact that they never had a McGregor and Khabib too is insane, because he got dominated massively, but there were still people who would have wanted to see that rematch just because of everything that happened afterwards.
Oh, so, yeah, wild, isn't it? Like, you could the promo for the next one would be greater than the one before.
Would literally be the end of the first fight. Yeah,
it was insane. And, like, you know, he did definitely get dominated, but he also caused probably the most problems for him in certain ways. Like, I know, obviously, he was on the floor getting battered for a lot of it, but at the same time, he was staying in there. You know what I mean? Like, people have looked a lot worse.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. And, you know, and you can't argue with him. He is one of the most elite fighters in the UFC. You can't argue. And like you say, he did cause problems to Khabib in certain areas. I don't know if I see that fight having a different result, mind.
No, I don't think so.
They've ran it back now, you know, how dominant Khabib has been. So
I didn't see it until, like, DC does a breakdown, doesn't he, on certain things.
Good breakdowns, yeah.
Did you see the breakdown of, like, when Khabib went in for the takedown?
No.
McGregor actually, like, you know, they come together in the middle of the cage and Khabib goes for the takedown. McGregor actually throws a knee there, but misses.
Yeah.
Which you can't, like, I personally didn't see.
Right.
Until he did the breakdown. It looks like he just, like, tried to thrust his hips into him.
Yeah.
But he actually threw a knee and it just missed.
Just missed, yeah.
Yeah, so that was like
I mean, that all comes down to kind of fight IQ, doesn't it? And, you know, it's those little things that make the elite. And, it's those little things that mean that we're the person sat in the settee watching it as opposed to the person in there. So, you know, it's a game of inches, isn't it?
Yeah, so have you ever had, like, how old are you?
26.
26. Right, well, I'm 27, so we're probably about the same age. And so you ever had any, like, obviously you're into fighting for a few years now.
Yeah.
Do you ever have any aspirations to actually fight yourself?
Yeah, as you know, as like a 12, 13-year-old, I would have loved to have kind of competed in mixed martial arts, and you know, I would have loved it. That's the truth of it. Like, as a young 12, 13, maybe even 14-year-old me would have thought, like, oh yeah, fancy a bit of this. Like I'd love a bit of this.
Yeah.
But realistically, I kind of knew that my skill level would be nowhere near enough to make it viable as a career. I'd be sat there as a domestic punching bag. I knew I wanted to be involved in the sport. I knew that from kind of the minute I started it, because the sport's just given me so much. Like in terms of, I was never not a confident person, if that makes sense. But it definitely gave me confidence just practicing a martial art or martial arts.
Yeah.
So I knew, from that moment on, I knew I wanted to be involved in the sport in some way. And yeah, I would have loved to have fought mixed martial arts if I had the skill set to do it at a good level. But I don't think it would have gone down very well. I had a couple of grappling matches when I was younger, when I was kind of between 16 and 18, did a couple of grappling competitions, enjoyed those. But never actually put the gloves on.
Never committed. Have you got?
I'm too handsome now. I get out before the business starts. And I get in after it ends. I'm too pretty now.
I'm just here to look good, talk good, and get out.
Yeah.
I respect it, mate. Well, at least you've been honest.
Yeah.
At least you've been honest.
No, I think anyone who is involved in mixed martial arts for a prolonged amount of time, it crosses their mind, definitely. The idea of fighting crosses their mind without a shadow of a doubt. Whether you entertain it seriously or whether, like me, you're just a little 13, 14-year-old kid with a bit of a pipe dream.
Yeah.
He goes to bed at night. But
I think it crosses everyone's mind, just in general, because when I was 15 to 21, I was just drinking Friday, Saturday, maybe Sunday, whatever.
Yeah.
And when all the boys get together, you talk about maybe a fight someone had had, or not even I'm talking on the telly. I'm talking about
I got
the fight you'd had the weekend before outside the auberge or something. Do you know what I mean? And we're just obsessed with it, aren't we? In any shape or form, I think. It's proper male bravado and ego. I
think humans, without wishing to get too deep into it, we're bred to compete, aren't we? To be competitive, that's human nature. Everyone's competitive in something. Whether you're a mixed martial artist or whether you're a professional Lego builder or whatever. Two total opposite spectrums, but we're all competitive in something. If you're not into sports at all and you're a musician, and you go off and orchestras and stuff have those competitions, don't they? People just do them in school.
Yeah.
That's competition. That's being competitive. As humans, we're driven to be competitive. Whether you want to be the best at your job or
no one wants to be the worst, do they?
No, yeah.
At the end of the day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No one wants to be the worst, which means you're striving to try and be the best. So we're competitive in some sort of aspect, just as humans, I think.
Yeah, I agree. Well, that's it. It's just natural, and that's just what we want to do. And I think, like you said, fighting is bred into us probably from years ago, where you literally had to fight other tribes, whatever, innit?
Yeah, it's a survival instinct, isn't it?
Yeah.
Years ago, you had to fight to survive.
So are you training now? Do you train now?
Not at the moment. No. I'd like to get back into it. I shan't go on record and say when, because that'll backfire in my face. But yeah, I'd like to get back into it at some point. Yeah,
give us a date, and I'm going to forward this to Richard.
Yeah, no, I'd like to get back into it at some point, because I enjoy it.
Yeah, I've only ever done one session of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah.
With Ash Amos.
Oh, right, yeah.
He had a little setup down in Aber at one point. But he moved then, which was probably good for my health, because I went down there once and it's going to sound like a proper baby excuse, but I literally tore all the skin off my toes the first time I went.
Yeah.
It was the grim, so I literally couldn't put socks on for a week.
It does grow back.
It does grow back. I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I should have gone again, really, but he moved then down to
put a plaster on it.
Pontypool or something
Yeah.
But I would love to, I have to keep saying it, but I'll have to try and get up for a couple of sessions, but it's hard to commit time, because it's not
Yeah. I mean, speaking from personal experience, even if you just get like 1 or 2 a week, it's just beneficial. I mean, we're all trapped in the kind of the grind of work and whatever else. So, I mean, just having 1 or 2 sessions is just good for you.
Yeah.
You know, in all aspects, physically, socially, mentally, it's just good to get out and do a bit.
It's definitely really fun anyway.
Yeah, it's massively fun.
I did enjoy it.
Yeah,
Like, it was
massively fun. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, you don't get the opportunity usually, do you, to just, you can't walk down the office and just grab someone and try and get them to the floor, like, can you? So
you can't. No, you can't.
Unfortunately, because it's time to time, I'd like to, but
even if that's the environment where you most want to grab something, you cannot.
Yeah, maybe it gives you the restraint, like being able to do it in the week. Yeah, there's definitely a few people. If there's anyone from work watching, like, I am thinking these thoughts, like,
he'll have you. Watch yourself.
Yeah, you just don't know it, like, you just don't know it.
No, it's brilliant. And I think, especially at the moment, obviously health and mental health and stuff like that, it's a big push on it, isn't it? It's a big thing. So, I think any form of exercise, any form, whether you play rugby, football, go for a run, get on a bike, go for a walk, whatever it is, just getting out and doing something is good.
Yeah, you literally, like, you never regret it, do you? I always and until I do something, pretty much, I try to do one thing every day, whether it's run, gym, whatever. Until I've done that in the day, I don't feel like satisfied. You know, like if I'm going to go in the morning, but then I don't. I've got to go in the afternoon. I'm just waiting around, like, just don't quite feel myself until I've done it, like, you know. Yeah,
no, I agree. Nobody ever feels worse after exercise. I'm sure that somebody will hop in the comments now and say, I feel worse after exercise. But as a rule of thumb, people don't feel worse after exercise. You feel good. You get the endorphins flowing and you feel awesome.
Yeah.
Like, whether you go for a walk and get to the top of a mountain, whether you go for a run and like get personal best on a 5K, or go for a cycle, have a grapple, play football, play rugby, whatever it is, never feel bad, like you said.
No, definitely. Unless you take your skin off your toes, like
unless you take your skin off your toes,
mate. That's a fucking bad day. Like,
look, I told you, I said there will be one. So,
that was me. That
was you.
Nah, I did enjoy it. Like, I won't. I'm not gonna take away from it because of my toes, like my pussy toes.
Stick a plaster on it. But I mean, I actually last week I tried. See that cold water swimming people are doing?
Yeah.
Yeah, I tried that for the first time last week, just because I was like, that looks pretty cool. Fancy a go at that. So I gave that a go, and that was really cool.
Where'd you go?
It was good. Place called Keeper's Pond. I'm sure you know it.
I know it.
Yeah. Keeper's Pond, good wild swimming place, so I'm told. And that was cool. It was good. I enjoyed it. Yeah.
So was it actually swimming, or was it just sitting? Like you were swimming?
So I got out and had a bit of a swim around. I was a little bit like, I didn't actually know how cold it was going to be. It turned out it was fairly warm. So I was able to swim around a bit. I didn't actually know how long I'd be able to stay in there. So I went about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, which in hindsight probably was a little bit late to go because the water was fairly warm. But I was able to have a swim about and stuff. But I'm definitely interested on getting a couple of early mornings in, seeing what that's like.
Yeah. It's supposed to be really good for you, the health benefits of getting in the cold water.
Yeah. Well, I started, I read up on the health benefits of cold showers, and I thought, you have a shower anyway, just turn the cold water on and give it a go. So I've probably been having cold showers for the past month.
The Wim Hof, is that you trying to?
I haven't actually looked into the Wim Hof. I just control my breathing for a bit before I get in or whatever. But and I find after that, I feel awesome, I feel great. So I thought, let's take it to the next level and let's try some of this wild swimming. So I'm gonna try and get up there now this weekend, nice and early. See if I can get a bit of a chill on. And
I know Matthew Creel was going up there quite regular. Do you know him?
I've heard of him. Yeah. He's tidy, but yeah.
I think he's got a group who goes up on a Sunday morning early,
right.
And anyone's welcome sort of thing. I'm pretty sure.
Nice.
I should go some point. I got one of them I got off Amazon, a little tub in the garden.
Oh yeah.
Which you can fill with water.
Yeah.
So if I go for a run in the morning, come back.
Yeah.
Do 5 minutes in there before I go for a shower.
Yeah.
Just sit there. It's not so bad now. Like you said, this time of year is kind of it's different. But we were going actually in the river. I say we're going in the river. We did it twice before I got this tub. And we went down one Sunday morning. One of the boys got in. I did a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
Another lad did about 5. His one was in there for about 10 minutes. And he started to make his way out, and he was about 4 meters from the edge.
Yeah.
And he just like collapsed and just went straight on his face.
Oh, Jesus.
Got back up, his knees were cut. He was just like, we literally had to like, because it was, well, there was frost on the ground. Like, that's how cold it was at the time.
Yeah.
So we had to like fucking dress him. He couldn't dress himself. Like, it was ridiculous.
Dangerous, man.
Yeah. But I think maybe between 5 and like 10 minutes is too much. Do you know what I mean? It's,
Yeah.
I don't know if you get in many benefits from like 7 minutes on. I don't think.
No. I read somewhere that like between 4 and 6 is like the most you'll stay in. I mean, I would imagine there becomes a point of diminishing returns.
Yeah,
it's essentially chucking yourself in it, like chucking yourself in the fridge, innit? Like you're surrounded by cold. Like at some point, that's gonna eat away at you, and that's gonna turn nasty. So I should imagine there's a point of diminishing returns from it. Yeah.
It's kind of like the cold is obviously setting off like mechanisms in your body to release different enzymes that you don't usually use to protect yourself, innit? So it's like it's giving you. I don't like. I'm proper fucking up the science of it, but like it's really something you don't have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. That's making your body give you like an extra layer of protection, basically, innit? So
yeah.
If you're like 7 minutes on, it's starting to break them walls down, isn't it?
Yeah.
Again, like you're getting worse again, aren't you? It's like, oh, but we can't put up with this.
Yeah, there's something to do with the blood cells. I don't know if it's the white or the red, so I'm not going to put a name on them. But it's something to do with the blood cells, and I think they like rush to the surface of your skin, and I think they start to come away from like your fingertips and your toes, to kind of preserve the heat around like your vital organs and stuff. Again, I am also butchering the science.
Anyone who wants to know, just Google it, because you're not getting facts yet.
Google it, yeah. You're just getting ideas. Yeah. But
I think I heard that once.
Yeah, that sounds about right. That sounds good. Yeah.
Same guy, actually. I went up the mountain with him the other morning, like 6 a.m, run up. It's only like a 4-mile run, but it's quite a tough one.
Yeah.
And we were about 3/4 of the way up, and he went, I'm on my 7th day of fasting today.
What?
And I was just like, right, okay. I was like, so why you haven't ate anything? No, literally just water fast for 7 days, like water, black coffee, green tea. That's it. So we're getting up there. We got to the top, and he's like, I don't feel too good. Like, same guy. Like, I swear he's just desperate. He's just trying to end it through like exercise and health. I don't know how he's trying to do all these things for health. He's just making himself ill. Like
7 days without food. I couldn't do that.
I think he's done 12.
7 days with 12 days without food.
He's done 12 with absolutely zero food.
Man, I know you can go way longer without food than without water. I don't know how long you can go, but like 7 days is a lot, man.
It's a long time, isn't it?
That's a lot.
He reckons after 3 or 4 days you don't get hungry. Like,
that's mad.
He reckons you're just floating through, and he said like, well, he gets himself into ketosis for like the week before, I think. So he's just like predominantly burning fat then. So he's like just taken from his body then for the 14 days effectively. But yeah, I think he broke his fast that day.
That's smart, yeah.
On that particular one, because he said he was broken when he got home.
I mean, I know a lot of people do intermittent fasting. I know GSP has done a bit of fasting, hasn't he?
Yeah.
So I know a lot of people do fasting. I know it works for a lot of people. 7 days, that's extreme fasting.
That's extreme, mate. I don't know. I can't even like comprehend it, to be honest.
No. Because
like I feel like 24 hours would be quite difficult.
Yeah. I mean, I would imagine he started at 24 hours. I like to think he didn't just put down. I like to think he didn't just put on a burger and think, right, from here on in 7 days, I'm going to do it.
He's the type of guy.
God, I mean that's a massive mental challenge, that, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Like,
I like I said, 20 like. Well, to be honest with you, like 5 hours or 4 hours in between meals is difficult sometimes, you know.
yeah, especially when you got nothing to do and you're kicking your feet.
Yeah. And like he's working from home at the minute as well, so imagine like being that close to the fridge knowing you're not eating for 7 days.
Yeah.
Although I suppose like he said, like it's really good once you get the hunger out the way, a couple of days in, like you just got all this extra time where you're not thinking about food. Although I'd be constantly thinking about food.
Yeah, I think I will constantly think about food. Yeah, I'd constantly be like on the Hills Brackens Facebook page, just looking at burgers. Like,
you a fan of them?
Yeah. I like a burger. Yeah.
It's a good spot for them as well, isn't it?
Awesome spot. Yeah.
So I didn't realise how close you were to you, to be honest.
Yeah. I'm an avid ladyboy originally. I'd been down in Abergavenny. Moved down there in September. So, yeah, just under a year.
Obviously, Auberge has been closed. Like for, have you ever been for a night out down?
Never
in
been for a night out
Abergavenny?
in Abergavenny. No. Managed to get out for a couple of pints now.
That's why you moved there.
That's why I moved there. Yeah. No, I managed to get out for a couple of drinks in the local pubs, which has been decent.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Yeah, that literally, like, from Crick as well, that's the place to go, really, isn't it? We always used to go down to Aber. Like,
Yeah, I can imagine, yeah.
Yeah, it's, yeah, well, you know, it's like, you know, you've been out in Abertillery, I'm sure, so it's...
It's good night out in Abertillery, I'll have you know. Cracking.
I actually haven't been out up there, so I can't really judge, like...
It's decent. I've always had a good night out there. Yeah. Some of the best nights out I've had has been being Abertillery. Yeah.
Many clubs or pubs or anything like up there?
We used to have one. It's knocked down now. It's a car park now. But we used to have one called the Arena. I think it's actually where I'm sure Richard's first gym was under that nightclub. But I never trained there.
A gym there, yeah.
Yeah. But the Arena used to be the nightclub. That used to be, it was wicked. That was.
Yeah.
It was kids. Yeah. Well, not kids, but you know, it was cool. Yeah, it was good. Good nights out in Abertillery. Yeah.
Yeah. I always like, well, as far as I travelled sort of that way was Bramau, like a few nights out in Bramau and stuff.
Yeah.
So that's probably like a place where you'd go as well because it's quite close, isn't it?
Yeah. It's quite close, Bramau. Yeah, and Ebervale. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Ebervale. What's the place there? It's called like
Level
14.
Yeah. Level 14.
I was living in Rasa for a couple of years. Like
Right.
I lived in Crick and then moved up to Rasa.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was the place then. Level 14 down there on like a Thursday night was the night. I think it was like Dole Day or something. I think it seemed to be rammed in there every Thursday.
Yeah. Level 14. Yeah.
Yeah, you know you're having like a rough one when you end up down in the because it's like downstairs as well, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm sure I went there after a couple of my A-level exams. To be fair, I'm sure we just left school, went straight out.
Yeah.
I
think I went there. I was like 16 the first time. It was called something else at the time, like Market Tavern or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like obviously, right, we've just gone completely on a tangent. Like, but we're talking about nights out. Like,
yeah, I got a habit of that. Sorry.
That's all right, mate. I'm exactly the same. So, MCing for Cage Warriors now.
Yeah.
Moving forward, like, have you got any goals or aspirations of like other promotions? Without like, you know, shitting on Cage Warriors. I'm not saying that, but you know, obviously, there are other places as well.
No, I think that. Well, I think the most important thing is to work on yourself, as opposed to because like I could set myself a target of like, I don't know, working on a UFC card or whatever, but that's out of my control, right? That's out of my remit. I don't make that judgment call, right? I could set myself a target of, I don't know, being a news reader on the BBC or whatever. That's out of my remit. I don't make that judgment call. So for me, I think my targets are always personal. And really they always have been, especially these past kind of 3 years in terms of MC, and my targets are always personal. I always pick out little things I want to improve, whether it's adding something in, taking something away, streamlining something, just having a particular show where I think that went really well. Kind of personal targets where I look at how I'm performing as an individual. I think that's how I set my goals, and from there, I think that if you're good enough and you keep hitting your targets and you keep improving, and you just keep getting a little bit better every time, then I think you'll get your just reward. You just got to keep plugging away. So for me, it's all about personal targets, and I think you can measure those as well, and it's up to you to hit those targets, because those targets are about you, and there's not really any external factors. So I think that's how I tend to set my goals.
I think that's a great way.
I think if I was to give myself some kind of target outside of kind of personal goals, it would be that I'd like to maybe work in other sports, because I like most sports. So kind of finding my way into another field, that'd be fantastic. And I've said this before, I would honestly be equally as happy, I think, introducing golfers onto a tee box as I would introducing fighters in a cage. because I'm passionate about speaking and delivering a good service. So, yeah, I think if I was going to set myself any kind of targets, I think that would be what I'd say in terms of kind of targets outside of my remit. Would be maybe try and get something in a different sport. I think that'd be really cool as well.
Yeah, I think so.
I think it'd be really interesting to work in a different sport, kind of in a different environment. It'd be quite fun. It'd be a new challenge, and I like a challenge. I like something new. Otherwise, I think you can sometimes stagnate. So yeah, something new in a completely different field. That'd be really fun. I'd really enjoy that. Yeah, although I do love MMA.
Yeah,
it is my favorite sport.
I think you like really hit the nail on the head. Was saying about like, because it's easy to say like, I want to be UFC commentator, Bellator commentator, but how are you going to get there in it? Like you're looking at this one step at a time, improving yourself, and like I genuinely think like if the product's good, you'll end up getting to the right place.
Exactly. And I mean, I look at where I am now with Cage Warriors, and I'm like, do I enjoy working with Cage Warriors? Yes. Are Cage Warriors a fantastic promotion? Yes. Do I work with fantastic people at Cage Warriors? Yes. When the answer to all these questions is yes, right? Like, why would I be searching too hard not searching for something else? Obviously, when other opportunities come along, that's great, and you want to take them. But at the same time, I think if you're in a good place with good people and you're happy with what you're doing, don't rock the boat. The right things will happen at the right time. And at the moment, I'm with a fantastic organisation who look after me really well. I work with amazing people. I learn something from every show I do. I learn something from the people there. I'm working with world-class people like Mark Goddard on every show. Being fortunate enough to pick the brains of people like Ian Dean. Yeah.
Mate, I think Cage Warriors, like, they really, outside of like, well, even like up to the standard of the UFC, I think their promotion skills and the way they lay their show out looks really professional. And I think they're going over to America now as well, aren't they? Is that like one of their latest moves?
They're going to California. The place in California escapes me. Starts with an S. Come on, Joe.
San something.
San
something. Am I right?
Oh my God!
I can't remember.
I nearly said San Andreas. Then it's not San Andreas.
San Jose or something.
San Diego.
San Diego.
San Diego. That's the one. Yeah, they're going to San Diego in California. Yeah.
That'll be amazing. Do you think you'll be going to
that? Who knows?
Wait and see.
Who knows? Wait and see. Logistically, I can imagine it'll be a nightmare in terms of, like, obviously the different travel lists and travel restrictions and COVID all that stuff. So, yeah, I think a lot depends on. I haven't got a clue,
Yeah,
but I can imagine it being a logistical nightmare for them. So, so who knows? My sights are firmly set on the trilogy first and having a good show there in June, and then whatever happens after that happens after that.
Awesome, mate.
But yeah, like I said, working for an awesome company with awesome people, where you can pick so many amazing people's brains, and you can bounce ideas off fantastic people. I mean, what more do you want?
That's it, mate. Well, I think it's a great place as well. And like when we went down to watch it, it's just really professionally done.
Yeah.
And I think just keep doing what you're doing, mate. I think like you've got a good thing now, like you say, and I think keep improving on yourself and whatever, and good things are just going to carry on. It's just going to happen naturally, innit? Like you say, it's just going to happen naturally.
Yeah, I think that's the plan. I think, things happen naturally. Don't force anything. When has anything you've ever really forced in life gone to plan? Things just fall into place. We don't force things in other areas of life, do we? We don't force relationships on people. That's illegal. Things happen naturally.
People do, but
it is illegal. Yeah, things happen naturally. And when things happen naturally, they tend to work out for the best. You know, you fall into like these niches in life, and they just work out for you. So I think keep doing what you're doing, keep focusing on you. You can't go far wrong.
Definitely, mate. Well, I think that's a good place to end it.
Yeah.
Have you got anything else you want to say?
I don't think so. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Obviously, thank you to everyone who actually got me to the point I'm at now. You know, obviously, I'm incredibly grateful for everyone's support. You know, from Ricky Wright giving me my first show to Robbie Owen allowing me to kind of hone my skills as an MC, to Richard Shaw, who has always pushed me as an MC, and who actually always pushes all local talent across the board in terms of Aberdeen and kind of the South Wales valleys. Him, Colin Mould as well, he's another one who's pushed me far. And then obviously the team at Cage Warriors, Graham Boylan, Ian Dean and co for giving me the opportunity and being awesome.
Amazing, mate. Well, appreciate you coming down. Appreciate you coming on. Me. And we'll have you go on again at some point in the future, mate. Man, definitely. And get over, give Hywel a follow.
Yeah.
Where can they find you, mate?
They can find me on all socials at Hywel, Hywel, Chaplin MC.
Awesome. Check it out. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. And take care, everyone.
Wicked.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers.
Experience Real Podcast.